Hello students, hope you all are doing well. I am Sarah Salahuddin, one of the instructors of your Eco 101 course, and I'll be providing lectures on perfect competition this week. So at first, let's see what are the topics to be covered under perfect competition. So in this chapter, we'll have an idea regarding the perfectly competitive market and its characteristics. We'll also go through the concepts of revenue, cost, and profit under perfect competition. And then we will see the profit maximizing conditions and how to identify the optimum level of output under perfectly competitive market. We'll be identifying and calculating profit, break-even, and shutdown points, and we will also scrutinize these concepts under short-run and long-run scenarios. And at last, we'll be identifying various points on perfect competition by using a graph. In order to go through these concepts, you can also take help of the reference text, which is Economics by Perkin, Powell and Matthews. It is the 6th edition and perfect competition is covered under chapter 11. Now let's begin. What is a competitive market? In general, a market is said to be competitive when there are a large number of buyers and sellers. But interestingly, the market size is even larger than that. As a result, the buyers and sellers has little or no ability to influence the market price. Under these circumstances, the demand curve of a perfectly competitive market is infinitely elastic. So the following graph shows an infinitely elastic demand curve of perfectly competitive market, where the firms can sell any amount of output at the given or prevailing market price. However, sometimes if the preference of the customer varies, then the producers get a chance to slightly increase the product price without having the fear that they will lose the market or consumer. But this happens often, very often. It is not a very regular scenario. Now let's look into more detail about the characteristics of perfect competition. A perfectly competitive market has the following features or characteristics. First of all, there are a large number of buyers and sellers. For an industry to be perfectly competitive, it must contain many producers or sellers where none of them have a large market share. At the same time, buyers are also numerous in number, and so as a result, there is no monopolistic or market power which can affect the market price. Under the perfectly competitive market, products are identical in nature. So basically, goods sold by the sellers are largely same or homogeneous, and consumers regard the products by two different producers as almost same or equivalent. Both buyers and sellers are price takers. When there is enough competition, neither the producer nor the consumer can influence the market price of the goods and services, as I have already discussed before. Therefore, when market is perfect, all market participants becomes price takers, where the price is set through the market mechanism. If any seller charges higher price compared to others, they will not be able to survive or exist in the market, and that means actions of buyers and sellers have very negligible impact on the market. Another characteristic of perfect competition indicates that there are no barriers to entry or exit in the market. That means as the cost of entering into the business is low under perfect competition, firms can easily enter or leave the industry whenever they want, because with very little sunk cost, there remains no pressure on the seller, and if they're making loss, they can go out of the market anytime. Also, their exit is not hampering the existing market for that particular product. Finally, there is no asymmetry of information under perfect competitive market, because in a perfectly competitive market, both buyers and sellers have perfect information or complete knowledge about the market condition. So all these characteristics all together makes a market perfectly competitive both for the buyer and seller, and as a result competition remains or exists in the market. Now the question is, what does a firm want under perfect competition? Definitely a firm wants to maximize its benefit. That means profit. A firm's aim is to make most money of their investment. As a result, under perfect competition, a profit maximizing firm would definitely want to maximize their profit. From your prior knowledge, you already know that profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. So whatever revenue the firm earns, if the cost of production is lower than that, that means the firm is earning some profit. We know that total revenue is equal to price times quantity. So whatever is the price of the product, if we multiply it with the quantity sold, then we can get the amount of total revenue. Now, if a firm wants to increase their profit, what do they need to do? They definitely need to increase their total revenue. Just as before I mentioned that, because if revenue increases and it is more than the cost incurred for that production, then the firm will be earning profits. So definitely higher revenue will be leading to higher level of profits. Now, how a firm can increase their total revenue? Total revenue can be increased either by increasing price or quantity. Now let's look at an example. Suppose under a perfectly competitive market of books, if price of a particular book is 150 BDT and quantity sold is 2, then total revenue of that selling would be equal to price times quantity, which is equal to 150 into 2, that means is equal to 300 BDT. So total revenue earned by selling these two books at 150 taka is equal to 300 taka. However, let's change the price. So instead of 150, if the price becomes 200, then by selling the same amount, the firm is now getting a bit more. The bookshop is getting a bit more. Now 200 into 2 is equal to 400 BDT. So for the same quantity of book, the bookshop has now earned a little bit more. They have gained 100 taka more from this selling, as because the price has increased. Now this total revenue can also be increased without changing the price. So if the price remains the same but the quantity sold changes, then also the bookshop can earn higher revenue. So over here, if we change the quantity from 2 to 4, then 150 of each book times the number of books sold, that is 4, is equal to 600 BDT. So then here as well the total revenue has increased, and we can see that either a change in price or a change in quantity can actually increase the level of total revenue. But under perfect competition, as buyers and sellers are price takers, or as the firms are price takers, so in order to increase the total revenue, they need to sell more quantities instead of a rise in the price, because if price is increased, then there is a chance of going out of the market or running out of the business, because it's a perfectly competitive market and everybody is under competition. So if the existing price is not maintained and higher price is charged, the firm might go out of the market. So as a result, the only way to increase the revenue level is by increasing the number of quantities. Let's look at another example. Now we will try to extend our concept beyond total revenue. here we will talk about average revenue and marginal revenue as well, because these concepts will help us in the next lecture to get into the detail of perfect competition market mechanism. Now, under this example, we can see that a milk producing farm under perfect competition sells gallons of milk. So there are various quantities, and at a market price of P is equal to 6 per gallon. So the price is given and the milk producing firm is just a price taker. And under these circumstances, we would like to calculate the total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue of this firm. Now, as you can see, at the first column, the quantities are given from 1 to 8. These are actually representing the gallons of milk sold by the milk producing farm. Then there is price given. Price is 6 for per gallon of milk. And total revenue, we are just multiplying the price and the quantity. So if 1 gallon is sold and per gallon is 6 taka, the firm earns 6 as total revenue. But keeping the price same, if the quantity of gallons of milk sold increases, then it becomes 6 into 2, 12. And in this way, we can see that the highest revenue is earned here when 8 gallons of milk is sold, and 8 into 6 becomes 48. So this is the highest total revenue under these circumstances in this table. From here, let's move towards calculating the average revenue. So if total revenue of a particular farm by selling 1 gallon of milk is 6, what is the average revenue? We know that average revenue is equal to total revenue divided by quantity. Now in column 3, we get for the first row that total revenue is 6 divided by quantity, which is equal to 1. So 6 divided by 1 is 6. Similarly, if we take the next figure in row 2, total revenue is 12 divided by the quantity 2. So 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. There is another way of calculating and understanding average revenue. Let's break down the component total revenue over here in this formula. So average revenue is equal to total revenue by quantity, but we know that total revenue is equal to price times quantity. So in the numerator, price we can put as 6 and quantity for the first gallon of milk is 1. So 6 into 1 divided by the quantity, same quantity, that is 1. So here quantity will cross out and we will be left with 6 only. Similarly, let's do it for the second row. We are keeping the concept of price times quantity for total revenue in mind. So price is 6. However, now the quantity is 2. So here in total revenue part, we can put 6 into 2 and divided by 2. So then 2 and 2 again crosses out and we are left with 6 only. So that's how we can see that average revenue remains constant all throughout, and each time it is only equal to the given market price. So from here what we have learned, that price is equal to average revenue under perfect competition. This is very important to remember. Now let's look at marginal revenue. Under marginal revenue, we see the formula to calculate marginal revenue, which is equal to new total revenue minus lost total revenue divided by new quantity minus lost quantity. Now, what is our new revenue for the first column? Actually, there is nothing to be new. When the first gallon of milk is sold, only then a farm is earning some revenue. When the farm is not selling any quantity, price is existing in the market because other firms are competing as well. But no revenue is generated by any particular farm if no quantity is sold. So under zero quantity, whatever the price is, total revenue will just become 0. So for that reason, we cannot calculate any marginal revenue for the first row. Let's start it from the second row. So now, what is the new revenue? This is 12. when 2 gallons of milk are sold. And what is the lost revenue? That is 6. So 12 minus 6 will provide us with 6 in the numerator part. Now let's look at the denominator. Denominator is saying that new quantity minus lost quantity. New quantity is definitely 2 minus lost quantity is 1. So 2 minus 1 will provide us with 1. So then 6 divided by 1, we are left with 6. Let's try it for another one. So in third row, the new revenue is now 18 and the last revenue is 12. So 18 minus 12 is 6. And the new quantity is 3, the old quantity is 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So then again, according to the marginal revenue formula, 6 divided by 1, we are again left with 6. So in terms of marginal revenue, we are also getting 6 each time. If you think wisely and if you think carefully, what is marginal revenue? Marginal revenue is the extra revenue, the additional revenue that a firm earns after selling one extra unit of output, right? So each time you are selling, how much is being added to your revenue? 6 taka or $6, right? So for an extra unit, how much can you earn? 6 taka. So each time that is being added. So that is the extra revenue you are generating each time you are selling one extra unit of output. That's how marginal revenue is 6 all the time. So again, from here we have learned that under perfect competition, marginal revenue is equal to price. Or in other words, we can say that under perfect competition, price is equal to MR is equal to AR. And this equation we actually need to keep in mind for our further understanding. Hopefully you have understood this lecture well. Now students, in the next lecture will be moving towards more details of how a firm maximizes profit under perfect competition and what should be a maximizing condition under perfect competition. How can we identify the optimum level of output under perfect competition? So all these concepts will be covered in next lecture. Hopefully you will go through this lecture carefully and please concentrate on the next one. Thanks for watching.